While it's definitely true that watching WWE can sometimes feel like you're tied up in the boot of a car driven by history's veiniest pensioner, I can't lie, almost all of my top 10 favorite wrestling matches of all time are from the big dub. It's just the stuff I grew up watching, the stuff I watch most regularly today, and up until very recently, it was a single roster that I was most emotionally connected with. Them's the breaks. But fear not, while I'm mostly a Fed boy, or whatever the children are saying on the CompuServe, I have seen some other wrestling. Not like a lot, some AEW, bits of New Japan, a soupçon of TNA, not really any ROH or Progress. Sorry, everybody, I'm just so sorry. I'm Adam, hailing from partsFUNknown, and here are my 10 favorite non-WWE matches. Honourable mention, Adam Blampied versus Rampage Brown, WCPW refused to lose. 6-star classic. Look, shut up and leave me alone. I got to wrestle a match against one of the best to ever do it on the UK Indies. He put me through a table and it was called by Jim Ross. Admittedly, he did say I got powerbombed through a chair, but shut up, it's Jim Ross. Genuinely one of the stupidest days of my life that'll live forever in my heart. And sweet William Wonka did those chops from Rampage hurt. Almost got him though, didn't I? Almost got him. Number 10, Diamond Dallas Page versus Goldberg, Halloween Havoc 98. World Championship Wrestling, or WCW as most people remember it, did a lot of things very well. The color grey, cruiserweight matches, and wasting money on celebrity horse. One thing it very rarely did well, in the 90s anyway, was main events. Oh, sweet Christmas did WCW put on main event after main event, especially at the peak of the wrestling boom when no bastard ever lost. A rare exception to that was DDP versus Goldberg, a WCW main event so good that the company corrected itself and accidentally cut it from the pay-per-view feed to like a quarter of the homes watching WCW. Those who did get to see the match saw an absolute barnstormer, hot fire and still undefeated world champ Goldberg against the champion of the people, Diamond Dallas Page, in a match that was scripted move for move. It's a DDP match after all, but it produced utter magic. No wasted moments, just storyline drama, big moves until a monster of a diamond cutter reversal to a huge pop. If there's one criticism of the match, it's that the 2 count that follows could have been a little closer, but that's a small dent in an otherwise gleaming example of the rare WCW main event done right. Number 9, Tomohiro Ishii versus Katsuyori Shibata, Wrestle Kingdom 10. Oh, it's a lot easier to talk about this match now that Shibata's returned to New Japan, because otherwise it might seem a little bleak to get this giddy about lads twatting the living off each other's living. 2 of the stiffest, rough-ass that ever plopped out of that hatchery under Isengard, going at it for the never open weight title at one of the best Wrestle Kingdoms ever. There's a spot in it where they just take turns allowing the other to kick them as hard as they can in the back. Love it, love it, love the character of Shibata, a phenomenally handsome man who for reasons unknown has dedicated himself to overwhelming danger. Before I fell in love with Walter, this was the greatest Hossfest match of all time, including a wonderful no-selling sequence followed by a double down, which might be my favorite double down ever. Zoons! Number 8, Cody Rhodes versus Dustin Rhodes, Double or Nothing 2019. I don't really like blood in my wrestling all that much. I know, right? What a dweeb. Knock the papers out of my hand and wedgie me from a flagpole. I don't mind it when it's used for isolated moments of storytelling, baby faces enduring hell and all that, but most of the time it's just a bit mucky. It's just a bit mucky for me. This is probably the bloodiest match I like, and it's precisely for the reason I mentioned. Would this match have told the story of underdog, old veteran Dustin Rhodes gutting it out against his jackal of a brother without the ridiculous amount of blood that Dustin lost? Probably not, and boy does he lose blood. He loses it like I lose my house keys. Not that often, but when it happens, it matters. A proper old-school WCW match on AEW's first official pay-per-view. It was like stumbling across a digital remastering of a mid-80s tape. It may not have the most moves, but it's got a ton of emotion and soul. Number 7, the Young Bucks versus Lucha Bros, All Out 2021. This match has the most moves. All Out 2021 is heralded as AEW's modern masterpiece of a show, and that's due in no small part to this diamond sitting right in the middle of it. Easily the best cage match of all time. I don't think it's hyperbole to say that Young Bucks and Lucha Bros are 2 of the most physically creative tag teams of all time. Every time they wrestle, you see something you haven't seen before that completely energizes whatever stipulation the match carries. In terms of storylines, there's not much here, but that's not the match's purpose. It's a summer blockbuster of stunt work, timing, choreography, and breathtaking agility, and also a boot with thumbtacks taped to it because wrestling is very silly, and I like it when wrestlers know that and revel in it, and goodness did they revel. Amazing near falls, jaw-dropping leaps, and perfect escalation of wrestling nonsense. Number 6, Keith Lee versus Donovan Dijak, PWG Battle of Los Angeles 2017. My boy, my big, beautiful boy. For NXT TakeOver Portland, Keith Lee and Dominik Dijakovic, then known as Donovan Dijak, toured a spectacular spectacular rivalry around the world, perfecting the art of Lucha Hosfest to a fine and highly stupid science. This match from Night 3 of the Battle of Los Angeles 2017 is just stupid wrestling perfection and the peak of two men who have found their wrestling soulmate. The match starts off a little shaky, but oh my goodness does it go places in 20 minutes. Endless examples of big men doing what big men shouldn't be able to do. Diving, catching each other, mad kickouts at one that send a tiny, intense PWG crowd into a frenzy, and one of the best spots to feature basketball jerseys, I think, potentially ever. And that's saying something considering that Nuggets-Lakers match that WWE put on, that was a 5-star classic. It's too much, it's way too much, but Keith Lee can never be too much. I love him so much. Number 5, Christopher Daniels versus Samoa Joe versus AJ Styles, TNA Unbreakable 05. I'll be honest, I don't know a lot about TNA other than what Luke Owen has shown me in a loud and childlike frenzy, laughing and clapping his hands like his own tiny daughter, demanding I watch the Shark Boys, the Reverse Battle Royals, and whatever the hell a Janice is. But one of the few times that I was not sad to have been forced to watch TNA was this match. Now so infamous that if you say the TNA triple threat, everyone knows what you're talking about. The 3 top super workers in a division full of them main eventing Unbreakable 2005 over the world title, and thank God they did. The match is stuffed with super fun triple threat combinations and hilarious double teaming of the Fallen Angel. So many triple threats devolve to one person being out of the ring for ages while 2 wrestlers wrestle before everyone changes places. But this one truly feels like a proper 3-way dance, full of invention, full of plans being scuppered by a third man popping out of nowhere, and bloody hell AJ Styles was the best in the world for a very long time. Number 4, Kenny Omega versus Kazuchika Okada for Dominion 2018. I mean, I had to include one of them. It's actually written into my Wrestle Talk contract. It's right next to the clause that requires me to lose my hair within 5 years, and I am working on it. The most critically acclaimed rivalry of the 2010s, perhaps even of the new millennium. I'm maybe not as crazy for it as Tempest is. I don't really want to see hour-long wrestling matches, please and thank you, unless it's got Kurt Angle and Brock Lesnar in them, the big hypocrite that I am. But I can't deny that I love when someone doesn't win a title for ages and then wins a title. This is a fundamental wrestling storyline, so when Kenny finally beats Okada for the belt in the 2 out of 3 falls match at Dominion, even though the match is too long, and it is, it's an hour 10 minutes, for God's sake, it is so much, and though it takes a while to get there, the final 20 minutes is sheer unadulterated spectacle. The thunder of the crowd, the exhaustion of both men, the final glorious one-winged angels to end Okada's 721-day title run, an epic in every sense and a landmark moment in a landmark series. Number 3, Rey Mysterio versus Eddie Guerrero, Halloween Havoc 97. WCW may have been very bad at main events, but in the 90s they were exceptional at introducing some of the greatest technicians and high flyers of all time to the Western mainstream. Most of the names that would make up WWE's legendary early 2000s mid-card came from WCW's relentless poaching of ECW. Names like Benoit, Malenko, Jericho, and of course Mysterio and Guerrero. Like the X division in TNA, the cruiserweight division in WCW has passed into legend for doing different wrestling in a main event landscape dominated by big boy, big beef. The zenith of the WCW cruiserweight era, the mask versus title match between Rey Mysterio Jr. and Eddie with a Y Guerrero at Halloween Havoc 97. A lightning in a bottle, perfect match between two men with outrageous chemistry. They tried a whole bunch of crazy shit. All of it just happened to work out for them. And it's just nice when wrestling works out like that. All the moves hit exactly right and the story pans out perfectly. Speaking of, number 2, Kenny Omega and Adam Page versus the Young Bucks, AEW Revolution 2020. The last great wrestling match before the pandemic, and bloody hell, what a grand finale. In much the same way that whenever the Clique wrestled each other in WWE, they always went over the top with the silly bonkers stuff. Whenever the Elite have a wrestle, it's always silly and always wonderful. It's the greatest tag match of all time, and I do not want to hear about your, but what about this All Japan match from the early 90s? Leave me alone, I haven't seen it. For anyone who criticized early AEW as being moves over story, this is proof positive you can have both. Filled with lightning offense, but the two biggest moments are the best kick out of all time and a post-match tease that legitimately almost made Ollie lay an egg. He was that excited. I can't really imagine that anyone watching this hasn't seen it, but if you haven't, rectify that today. It is simply some of the most fun you can have watching wrestling while still having moments that make you shout, "Young Bucks, you pieces of shit," like big children at a panto. And number 1, AJ Styles versus Shinsuke Nakamura, Wrestle Kingdom 10, because I really like the moment where he eats the bullet. No, I'm serious, I couldn't decide between this and number 2, and then I remembered the bit where Nakamura eats the bullet, and it made me do a big, dopey, happy grin. That's why it's number 1. Also, it's just one of the best matches ever, but yeah, you get the idea. New Japan AJ Styles was the best wrestler on the planet. New Japan Shinsuke Nakamura was the most charismatic wrestler on the planet. And together, the two made the kind of one-night-only magic that you just can't replicate. And trust me, WWE tried and tried and tried, and something testicles. I just love watching it. The perfect mix of two wrestlers at the top of their game. Memorable moments like that bomb high to the back of Styles' head. Bloody hell, though. And that very special atmosphere that seems to only come around at Wrestle Kingdom. It's perfect. It's just perfect. I love it so much. And that's our list. What's your favorite non-WWE wrestling match? Let us know in the comments. Don't forget to like and share this video around if you enjoyed it. Make sure you subscribe to partsFUNknown for more silly wrestling content. And never forget to jam that jam.